Yo, what up, man?
What's up? Once again for another episode.
Old school,
new school
rules.
Podcast.
OSNSR, you know what it is, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
It's your man Hakeem Green sitting here with my partner Ron Lawrence. Big shout out to Vita in the background, making it a go. Definitely appreciate Vita handling her BI. I gotta say, and I say this every week, I'm gonna say it again. That beat is hot.
That beat is fire.
That beat is fire.
My man Hakeem Green.
Yeah, well, actually, it's my man Ron Lawrence who produced the album Aubrey, and that particular joint is called Reckless, which is about a young man in Brooklyn who went reckless for a summer. And it's crazy. Our first topic is really about that, how our young people, the younger generation, are living reckless, and there's a lot of casualties of this recklessness. Unfortunately, we lost a great one, a young man named LGP Qua. Let me get that right. Let me get that right. I saw him first about 4 years ago on social media. LGP Qua, rest in peace. I saw him about 4 years ago on social media, 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was during COVID when I first saw him. And he dropped a video that was really calling for peace, calling for the young people to put the guns down. And steadily, he was releasing content in that same vein, pushing for peace, describing the Philly community and the dangers of the underground there. And he recently lost his life, was murdered about 4 or 5 days ago over a chain.
I said self-destruction headed for. Shit ain't getting better for. Building new jails, man, them crackers getting ready for. Kids getting life, so now the parents really stressing for. Where I'm from, niggas they don't fight, they pull a weapon on you. Everything I talk is all facts, this reality. Bullets flying, bodies dropping, and police brutality. They booked a 16-year-old girl, fuck the Commonwealth. How the fuck you give all that time for trying to defend themselves? Gangers keep on fucking up their life, I'm getting tired of it. You wanna know the reason? Cause they never had a father figure. I was dead broke, man, I never had a pot to piss. All I ever had was my mom, she always rockin' with me. Voice of the youth, so I'ma speak for my community. Everybody hating, why you think it ain't no unity? Old niggas always acting petty, nothing new to me. I was just with you, I end up at your eulogy. The revolution shall be televised, I hope you listen. They bringing back slavery, look at this shit in Libya.
Yeah, he's nice.
Bro, nice. And like most of his content, if not all of his content, his music, his bars was that. And coming from where we come from, not just New York City in the 80s, New Jersey in the 80s, but the mindset of hip hop at the time with self-destruction, the KRS-Ones, BDP, Public Enemies, X-Clan, Tribe Called Quest, Native Tongue, just the whole movement was upliftment, Black Power. How do we get back to that? And this young man was doing it. He was carrying the torch in that sense, Ron.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Well, music comes in cycles, and it's just a matter of when it happens,
Yeah. It's like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. It's just a matter of when it happens. Music comes in cycles, and hopefully he'll come back soon. Maybe Hakeem Green need to put out an album and shake up the masses.
Well, we've been putting out music. We put out the Aubrey album, but we need, in terms of the young generation, like
it takes a movement. It takes a movement of things that happen for it to get there. I think it just doesn't start where somebody just picks up a mic and says, "Hey, I'm gonna rap about." Let's start talking about Black Power. I think it takes a movement. I think the people have to feel the energy in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think once we got that movement back in the 80s, remember a lot was going on. Scholar Rock got killed. Spike Lee was doing Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? P.E. was rocking with the with the Nation of Islam. It was just all that stuff was just coming all together. It was just an energy that was happening.
Yeah.
That movement.
Well, the first time I heard P.E. was in 1987.
Yeah.
Was in 1987.
Uzi Weighs a Ton, yeah.
Yeah. And so the music, the first, my Uzi Weighs a Ton What came after that? That was off of Takes a Nation of Millions, correct?
It was the very first album.
That was the first. Yeah.
And I think Rebel Without a Pause was the one that kind of like just took it there, just went to skyrocket to the stars.
And that was about like the sound, the production. Big shout out to the Bomb Squad.
Production, yeah.
The production. It was Chuck's voice. It wasn't necessarily overtly conscious yet, though they were rolling with the S1Ws. Like, there's no social media at this time. Like,
Right.
there's ain't on TV at this time.
This was there because you had Griff from the Nation of Islam. That's what like he was. There was all that. There was already immersed in it. It just
right. But I'm saying in terms of the masses and how it impacted the masses.
Right.
In terms of even think of like what was going on right before PE and that whole conscious movement. It was, jewelry, fashion, leathers, trucks and Jeeps and BMs, and it was materialism was on 10. You know what I mean?
Level high, and I think LL was definitely leading the charge with that. LL was, he was always a groundbreaking dude. LL had he had the jury, he had the champagne. Like if you look at the Black Panther, I was at the Welcome to the Panther album. He had the champagne bottles. You know what I'm saying? He had the jury. He had all of that. But I don't think hip hop was ready for that, or either they was ready. They were just ready to move into another space.
Right. But it's like, so it's like we were just doing what was there.
Right.
And then Rakim comes, God body, but he still got the gold on. He got the chains on. He's talking about, his whole look was, where the streets were at that time. Right. And then you get PE, of course. You get KRS-One to Criminal Minded to some extent, not really to by all means necessary do we really get the conscious KRS-One, so to speak. But then you get like Jungle Brothers, X-Clan, who fashion wise and the way they look was just so out of left field, pro-Black Africa. Like it was like up in your face. It was almost like a turnoff. Like when you see X-Clan, you like, yo, what are they wearing? What they on? Like, I don't know if I'm going that deep. But then you get
it was a whole movement. They dressed like that. They was dressing like that off camera. They was just like, this is our life.
Right. And then Lumumba being the son of Sonny Carson, who was a big, activist in Brooklyn, carrying that tradition. They all came out of like the I don't want to say came out of this, but I'm sure being influenced by like the Ansar community, Dr. York, that whole thing, pro-Black. Back to Africa, Egypt, the Metal Netta. What was the group that produced Ra'u Nefa Amen, the author of the book?
Oh, right, yeah,
Metal Netta.
Yeah.
What was the name? What was the name of that community in Brooklyn? Because it was a whole community that was deeply entrenched in ancient Kemetic science and culture.
Was it the Metal Nettas or the Metal Netta?
Well, the book is called the Metal Netta. He, I think, 2 or 3 volumes. But I forget what the name of the actual, but to the point of when you say cultural movements, there were all these different cultural movements from 5% Nation to, like, say, Dr. York's community to this other community I'm forgetting, but the whole Kemetic thing. And we were being influenced by that, and it was coming up in the music, right? So to your point about it having to be a movement, it was showing itself in the music, but not on a mainstream level, just really like pockets. Just a little pocket here, a pocket there. And then we get together, we build. You go down to Howard with the fez on because you're being influenced by it and you're taking it in and expressing it. 2 Kings in the Cypher. Of course, we being associated with KRS-One, BDP, we all into knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and it was showing in the music. So now you got this young brother, LGP Qua, who somehow, some way is being influenced in a positive direction and is showing up in his lyrics. And then we lose him. He gets murdered. I hate to think of people as martyrs because that means they've lost their life. But is he a martyr for the next movement? Does his unfortunate death spark younger people? Because Hakeem and Ron, we could put out music, but if these young kids, younger generation, the YNs as they call them, I don't like that. We like that term, but we know what it is. If the YNs ain't talking it, then it's not really gonna move the needle how we need it to, you know. And he was one of the ones who was doing that, man. So I'm glad we got a chance to salute him and give him his flowers, his rest in peace, condolences to his family and the entire Philly community. They're doing an event on May 21st. It's a rally in honor of him at City Hall. The flyer's on my IG page. I'll share it with OSNSR so we can make sure we can promote May 21st. All the Philly surrounding areas, come on out in support of LGP Qua. Rest in peace, young brother.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah. So we got LGP Qua, who just recently lost his life, unfortunately, over a chain. And he represents a certain branch of hip hop. And we have Bobby Smurda right here, who has represented a certain.
Shooting stars in the road, started tearing off her clothes, made a wish it was me. Yeah. Superstar status, baby, you the baddest. 50 on the clothes, ass still the fattest. Love Tikio, knock your ass up out it. Love Tikio, knock your ass up out it.
Hey, come here, baby, bend it over. Let me hit you on the sofa.
Hey, I like that record, actually. Got another love TKO. You know what I mean? Teddy P up in the building. So, what you think, Ron? You feeling that?
I mean, I think Bobby Smurda's image, I think it's like a conflict with him. I think he had there was this big thing before he got locked up towards the end of this video where he does this kind of movement he does this kind of, however you do that kind of movement, and it was just like a split second, and it went viral, and everybody started turning it into a dance. But it was a coolness about it, So when you see Bobby Smurda and you see the coolness of that dance, it doesn't add up. It's like it's not him. It's something totally different. I think that 1 second clip of that move that he did, they just turned it into something. And now when you see Bobby Smurda, he comes out and he tries to capitalize on what he had in the past, and he comes up with this some weird kind of dance, and it's like this dance is it's you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't add up.
Well,
the rhythm, the flavor, all of it, it's not the same, Yeah. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And I think the being locked up, I think the industry moved without him.
Yeah, I think that more than anything, the song that you're talking about, what is the name of that song? It was like the biggest record for like 2 years. The joint he throws the hat up in the air and the hat never comes down. And it's like, that was like really one of the first viral social media viral records that popped off, because I don't think they had a deal. I think it's just something that they did. They captured it, the organicness of it, where young people, kids, like teenagers, 13, 14, 15, where they were at, that just resonated with them, and it took off. And then, he went to jail, like you said. I think that right there really put a damper in his career. Like you said, the industry moved on without him, excuse me. We're at a different time. So, and then, how you work a record, so he was supposed to be on tour. And unfortunately, his tour pre-sales was averaging like 10 ticket sales a city. So he wasn't gonna, recoup the money at these different tour spots. And so they canceled the tour. And that was more or less the wake-up call for Bobby Smurda that, he doesn't resonate the same way. So I like the song, actually. And, I'm not a big fan of the music today compared to what we was doing. Of course, I got my biases and my old head, But listen to that. I think that if that song comes out, at another time or earlier time, that song wins. That's my personal opinion. Okay. Got the auto tune, got that voice on it, and that's that. I don't know if that's played now. If people aren't doing that now. I can't call it, but it's maybe it was too early to go out on tour. Maybe you leaked that song, you worked that song on social media, you put out a visual for it, but you don't really try to go on tour. You try to follow that up with something and build your catalog back up so you can actually go on tour with, because that song and the first song, you know, paying however many dollars a ticket ain't gonna get it. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's how. There's something else I wanted to touch on with, oh, I know what it is. So with the Bobby Smurder sound, relative to what LGP Quad was spitting. And then when we do look at what's happening in the mainstream, nothing bigger in the mainstream than Drake versus Kendrick. Kendrick's Super Bowl appearance, what Kendrick represents culturally in terms of politics, culture, just that old way that we talked about earlier. It's that, but different for their generation. I'm looking at what's going on between Absol, what's the boy from Michigan, Big Sean, and the brother from PE, the actor. I just said his name earlier. Come on, help me out. Come on, Vita.
The brother from PE?
Huh?
Brother from PE? Polygamy, you said?
Nah, not PE. It's the PE is the new generation. Joey Badass, thank you. Come on, I gotta know that. It's right there. Come on, Joey Badass. Joey Badass was in a crew called PE, but it stood for something else. But of course, they were linking it to Public Enemy, of course, just to just salute to PE. Joey Badass, as a solo artist coming out of this group PE, is now an actor, big artist. He's had huge records. He's kind of a lyrical. He's about them bars. He's a Brooklyn MC. Like, he really carries the tradition of MC-manship. Same way with Absol coming from the West Coast, Big Sean's coming from Michigan, and they had a cipher, and they were spitting bars at each other. And it's like jewels, dropping jewels. I'm dissing, but I'm dropping jewels. It wasn't like I'm dissing trying to, just on some bullshit. Like, I'm got bar work. So it's like there's a shift happening almost where the young generation are starting to consider other types of MCs to fill out their menu. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the bullshit anymore. It's not the negative. It's not the gun stuff. It's Doechii. It's, you got to bring bars to the table. And I think that's kind of refreshing to see.
Nice.
Yeah. So pro era. Thank you, Vita. Pro era. Thank you. We supposed to know this, Rob. We supposed to be tapped in. Old school, new school rules. Right. But yeah, Joey Badass definitely represents. Absol definitely represents. And Big Sean, of course, is a huge, artist that got bars,
Bars, yeah.
Yeah. So that's dope. Another MC who's done some extremely innovative things, not just artistically, but in terms of his business, but unfortunately got locked up for shooting Meg Thee Stallion in the foot. Have you been paying attention to what's going on with this, my brother?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. But so lately, I think his attorney came out with some information, and they were claiming that, there it is right here.
Named Bradley James.
We're having a problem with the volume, Vita.
Mr. Peterson's trial. As such, he was in close proximity and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was witness to the conversation Ms. Harris had, where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times. In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun. This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw two women fighting, two men break up the fight, one man grabbed the other one's arm, gunshots came from the passenger side.
Okay, so he's spewing around names. I don't know who's who. So apparently, two people were fighting and a gunshot went off accidentally and shot her in the foot, right? So where was Tory Lanez in all of this? Is he Mr. Peterson?
Yeah. No, he's Peterson.
Okay. So explain to me what's going on here.
Okay. So Tory Lanez was accused, charged, and convicted of shooting Meg Stallion in the foot. Right.
I know that.
Okay. Tory Lanez has always maintained his innocence, said he didn't shoot anybody.
I know that.
Okay. It was alleged that Kelsey, Meg's friend, could have been the actual shooter.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
Okay. All right.
So Meg's friend could have been the actual shooter.
Right.
Meaning that there's a cover up to cover her friend.
Right.
Right. And blaming it on Tory Lanez. But was Tory present when all of that happened?
Yes, Tory was there when all that happened.
Okay.
Yes.
So
they were all together. If I get my I don't, because there's a whole backstory that's actually very convoluted. That involves one of the Kardashian girls.
Mm-hmm.
So they apparently were at some gathering at the Kardashian house, and in this, it was revealed that Tory was sleeping with Meg and Kelsey, and then there was an argument that happened that I apparently carried over to a car. Someone had a gun. Someone gets shot. They blame Tory for it. Tory catches the blame. But Tory doesn't say who shot who. He's not snitching. That's a whole nother conversation. The whole idea of no snitching, and do you sacrifice your own innocence, not just to be labeled a snitch. Okay. But Tory has always maintained his innocence. There was some DA evidence found on the gun. Apparently, Tory's DNA was never found on the gun. However, there is DNA that matches other people who were there. That's kind of been known, but either concealed or overlooked.
So is Megan saying she know who shot her, or she's blaming Tory?
Megan blamed Tory. Now, here's the thing. When Megan testified, it came up whether she ever had a sexual relationship with Tory. She said no, she didn't have a sexual relationship with Tory. When she interviewed with Gayle King, she said, well, maybe once or twice.
Maybe.
Right. So if she had sex with Tory Lanez, she perjured herself. And then there's bigger pieces to the puzzle. Management companies are involved. The cover up, like you said, it's the cover up.
Mm-hmm.
And here this man is doing time, maybe for a crime he didn't commit, and just got stabbed 14 times. Now that's interesting because he got stabbed up 14 times the day after his defense submitted the new evidence, which is this driver who was driving Kelsey to court and overheard her tell someone else that she shot Meg.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right. So what do you think?
I mean, look.
It's a lot to it, right?
A lot to it. I mean, I think his father was saying that at the beginning. His father was vouching and saying, I think his father explained that same story.
Yeah.
And nobody was listening to him.
Right. Who's Meg's management company?
I have no idea.
Rock Nation. And there's a lot to that as well. Apparently, Tory's former attorney daughter at some point had business with Rock Nation. So that would create conflict of interest. And she tried to get him to plead out.
Right.
His former attorney. So there's a lot to this, don't want to overstate anything because I don't have the facts. We don't have the facts. Oh, and her daughter sings with Beyonce. Thank you, Vita. So it gets a little, but there's layers to it. And, it's a very interesting story. We'll see how it develops as time goes on. Oh, wow. Talk about controversy. DJ Dax, what up, brother? Thank you for checking in with Old School, New School Rules. Appreciate you, fam. So, Diddy trial. I think Diddy going home, bro.
I'm getting mixed reviews. I mean, I talk to people who thinks that he's not, and then I have people who say that he is. So
yeah.
I'm getting,
it's so far it doesn't seem as if, or hasn't seemed as if, they talked about anything criminal. Everything has been the love story.
Maybe they're waiting. Maybe they probably haven't gotten to that yet because now they're done with Cassie. So this is what they're focusing on.
Not seeing it. I could be wrong, but the government is just not doing a great job. I stepped out because I'm just dying in there. It is really hard. It's hard to write all day. I will have more info on stuff for you guys. Cassie broke down on the stand crying, basically just saying that she loves the diddler and she would do anything for him. And I hate to say it, but I think the defense is going to come back and say, well, this is a case of somebody who is just so in love that she would say, literally, I just wanted to make him happy. I didn't want him to be angry or upset because you didn't know what could happen. And so I think the defense is going to get up there and say, look, you were just so in love with him, you would do anything he asked you to. Well, guess what? That's not, that was your choice. That's what they're going to say is you were an adult and you made that choice, whether good or bad, you made that choice to do anything for him for love. So I don't know, Patriots. I'm not.
I mean, this is like a domestic violence case, at most. I thought it was a case about human trafficking, sex trafficking, drugs, guns.
Well, maybe they haven't gotten to that because they're working with Cassie, So Cassie's the domestic violence thing. I guess once they get her out of the way, maybe they'll move on to the other things. Who knows?
I mean, it would seem to me that they would be using her to confirm these other allegations. Like, is he charged? Is the charges domestic violence? Like, why are we?
I didn't even think, to be honest with you, I didn't even foresee Cassie even being on the stand based on the allegations that they started with.
Right.
They went into his house. They found, But then again, the baby oil. Maybe that's the connection.
Well, she testified there was never any drugs in the baby oil.
Right, but did she use the baby oil for sex?
No, I don't think any of that. I don't think baby oil has anything to do with anything she's been saying. It's been about their sexual exploits and what she was doing to please him. But even in her own admission, she wanted to do a lot of this stuff. All of it, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like he was forcing her. She was there as a willing participant in the debauchery.
So she was making up the phone calls. She was setting up the freak-offs.
Right.
One of the dudes fell in love with her, right? One dude said that he started having feelings for her.
Yeah, and I guess it seems
he was one of the main cats.
I could be wrong. I'm not in court. I'm just hearsay. You know what I mean? But she was able to leave, and she's had other relationships while still dealing with Puff.
Yeah, and then she came back. While she was with Kid Cudi, she came back to a freak-off.
Now,
while she was with Kid Cudi, she's like, "Yo, we got a freak-off going on here. Yo, Cudi, yo, I can't meet with you tonight. I got some business to take care of."
You know, I don't.
I'm dipping out for 48 hours.
Now it's alleged that Puff may have had Kid Cudi's car blown up. Kid Cudi's car did get blown up. Allegedly, Puff made a threat that he would blow up Kid Cudi's car.
Right.
So,
well,
I mean but
that shows that he couldn't stop her from doing what she was doing. She went on and started.
Well, I mean, if you blowing up niggas' cars, I mean, that's a great attempt to try to stop somebody.
He wasn't stopping her. She was going on to still mess with Kid Cudi, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna blow this nigga's car up," but it didn't stop her from leaving.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So she had already left because she fucking with Kid Cudi. So now Puff is jealous. So Puff goes and blows up his car.
Okay. So just in all fairness, if somebody blows up somebody's car, I might not want to fuck with this dude. I might want to go along with the go along.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm saying that's why she went back. If you know what I mean, like that's like you said, maybe we didn't get to that part yet. But if you blowing up Joker's cars and she knows, yo, this nigga, he's wilding. You know what? Maybe I need to go participate in the shenanigans because my loved ones are at risk. My family members are at risk. My people I care about are at risk. So I'm gonna go, wild out to keep people safe. I don't know. But that's a rumor. I don't think that's a part of this case. I think it's beyond the statute of limitations, I guess. But that is an ongoing story about Kid Cudi getting his car blown up. I don't know. But, I thought the case was about, Puff shuffling young girls over state lines to go. Like, I thought it was a human trafficking case. I thought it was about pink cocaine and using people as drug mules in terms of the RICO charges. Right. Like, that's what I thought. I guess they're saying Bad Boy, him using his Bad Boy staff or his other entertainment, whatever, using them is RICO, but I don't think that's been said in the actual court so far. Okay, where we at? Rodney Hinton Jr.
Mm-hmm.
So Rodney Hinton Jr. Was arrested and is being charged for the murder of a police officer that he took his truck, I believe, his vehicle, and ran over a police officer intentionally because of the grief of losing his son, who was shot by another police officer. So his son is murdered by a police officer. He goes to the police station or whatever he's to go. The family went to talk to the law enforcement officials about his son being shot. He leaves. He's distraught, as any father would be. Their son just got murdered and was driving around, and then I guess saw this police officer and ran him over, killed him. Right. He was arrested, and when he was being charged, and he was going in to get charged, there was like 35 police officers just standing there, ice grilling him. Like they bought 35 police officers there to intimidate the young brother, so they could exert power and force while he's being shackled and chained. When they take him out of that courtroom, a black police officer made sure he traveled with the white officers to take him to whatever holding area he was being brought to. And that was a huge story on social media, basically highlighting the black officer, the brother, making sure no funny business happened. His rights weren't violated. He wasn't, harmed in any way. You can see him, the black officer standing against the wall. He knows he's in the line of sight of the body cam from the officer standing there, and he's tapping his gun belt. Basically, I'm not letting anything go down while I'm on watch. And salute to him. Salute to him. Fired for posting about Rodney Hinton Jr. Now I know nothing about this.
I got fired today because they seen my post and they seen that I was standing with Rodney Hinton Jr. Volkswagen fired me because they said that goes against the company's policy. So the company has a policy. Well, they can look at your social media, and if they don't agree with your post that you make on social media, they can let you go.
Damn.
Yeah, that's where we at right now in the world.
That's what we.
For people saying that the difference between and therefore the reason why they support Luigi Mangione but not Rodney Hinton Jr. is because Luigi Mangione hit his intended mark, whereas Rodney Hinton Jr. hit an officer who was not the one who shot his son. That is a fairly hollow difference because Luigi Mangione was not insured by United Healthcare. Whatever may have gone on with his back surgery years before had nothing to do with United Healthcare. Thompson had caused Mangione no direct personal harm, but the reason why Mangione picked Thompson as his mark is because he is symbolic of and part of a harmful system, similar to what Rodney Hinton Jr. did. However, a significant difference between the two of them is that Rodney Hinton Jr., a father, had just been shown a video of his son being killed. So if you support Luigi Mangione, but you do not support Rodney Hinton Jr., please take as much time as you need to deconstruct why. And I would suggest starting with the recognition that it's probably because Luigi Mangione's mark is also your mark, because the harm that he has experienced is a harm that you also experience. Whereas Rodney Hinton Jr.'s mark is not also your mark, because the harm that he and his family and his community have experienced is not a harm that you experience.
Big shout out to Amy Chen and the brother, I don't know his name, but the brother who preceded her. I'm talking about being let go because he found solidarity in supporting Rodney Hinton Jr. There's lines being drawn in the sand right now, brother, and we're not collectively not paying attention to it. Things are being drawn along the lines of race. I think her point about why it's so easy to support Luigi Mangione, he's got the complexion for the protection of the collection. Old school rule. White privilege, white supremacy is a very real thing, and it happens so subconsciously that people don't realize that they're keeping the very same system that oppresses them, they're keeping it intact. And we have to start seeing the humanity in everybody, and we need to uplift Black people as much as possible to the level of respect in terms of humanity, So big shout out to Rodney Hinton Jr. I hold your head, bro. We pray for you. If there are any fundraising mechanisms going on right now, I think we need to lock in with that. Perhaps we can get a link to something and share it with people so Rodney Hinton Jr. can get the best possible representation. Not that he doesn't have it now, because I actually saw his attorney speak. Very powerful Black man, strong, smart Black man. So, but I'm sure he's going to need financial resources to really defend himself.
Urgent message for alumni and students of Florida A&M University, and a warning for all those who love and support HBCUs. HBCUs are under attack. MAGA is trying to take over leadership at several of our beloved institutions. Right now, FAMU is in the bullseye. Hear me loud and clear. Right this very minute, a group of activist Republicans are trying to put in the highest position of power someone who is solidly and objectively unqualified for it. Her name is Marva Johnson. FAMU deserves better. Marva Johnson has been named a finalist for the FAMU presidency by Florida Republicans who sit on the Presidential Search Committee. Let me tell you a little bit about Marva Johnson. She is a career lobbyist with no experience in higher education administration. Literally, the same amount of higher education admin experience as you or I. Zero. None. Now, this is not just about her being a staunch Republican. Everyone has a right to their own political affiliations. But what we cannot allow is a hostile takeover by someone who is aligned with a party that has loudly and proudly espoused ideologies that attack diversity and diverse institutions, attack equitable economics, and attack inclusive principles.
Will Packard, thank you. What you think, Ron? You're the product of an HBCU. What's your take?
I mean, what did Donald Trump do for Howard? He's funded Howard recently, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's given some money to Howard University. So, I mean, I don't know.
Nah, you have no take on Marva Johnson at FAMU and what that might mean in the bigger picture with HBCUs, seeing how Project 2025 is shaping up, where they're openly now saying that they want a white nationalist nation. You know, the new bill that they're trying to pass, which basically cuts out it just got it's met with Medicaid, but in terms of Jasmine, the program Trump just gutted or is trying to gut, this bill that they're trying to gut. Come on, Vita, I know you know.
Okay, right here. 2025, 2026 budget proposals. Trump administration recommended significant funding cuts for Howard University, specifically $1 million reduction, returning funding to 2021's levels. This move came after a one-time $300 million federal commitment for a new hospital concluded. So I know let me see. And
you said cuts, right, though? You said cuts.
It says Howard University, as the only federally charged HBCU, received federal funding during the Trump administration as a part of these broader HBCU's activities. Let me see. University officials and HBCU advocates have raised concerns about those proposal cuts, emphasizing the importance of sustained funding for Howard's mission. Okay, so conclusion, Trump did not give Howard University a unique or direct personal donation, but his administration did sign legislations that increased and made permanent federal funding for HBCUs included. However, his latest budget proposal sought to reduce Howard's federal funding by tens of millions, contradicting earlier assurances that HBCUs would not face cuts.
Okay. Yeah. That's on brand. Because what happens is you get a democratically controlled Congress and Senate that creates the bill, passes the bill, puts it on the president's desk. So yeah, he signed it, but he wasn't necessarily behind it like them.
Exactly. He signed it, but he was right.
Nah, like them stimulus checks. And then when he in his second term, when it's time to unleash the Kraken, he starts cutting funding. Right. And we know how they feel about woke ideology, and we know what they feel about DEI, and you know about how we know how they feel about defunding public education. So for me, it would be safe to assume that any HBCU led by somebody down with them isn't for the progress of Black people.
Mm-hmm.
It might be for the progress of themselves.
It always is.
Oh, breaking news. Huge loss in the House Budget Committee, as the House Budget Committee, with 5 Republicans voting against it, just voted down this piece of legislation in a stunning rebuke of Donald Trump and of Mike Johnson. Donald Trump was rallying the troops on Truth Social today, and it clearly didn't work. This is coming from Midas Touch. Right. So the bill that I was just referencing that wants to basically defund, what is the term I'm looking for? He said they want to cut funding for mothers, single mothers. They're basically trying to force marriage. They're trying to force marriage. They're trying to make it very hard for single, independent women, especially independent single women with children. They're trying to force them into marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Right. By cutting the resources they can get through the federal government. That's what this bill that they were trying to pass that just failed, thank God, thanks to 5 Republicans joining on. So hopefully, slowly, people will start seeing what's going on in terms of us losing rights, us losing investment.
So they're trying to force marriage, right? By taking,
oh yeah, thank you,
by cutting some of these funds. So
right.
what they're saying is, okay, well, if you're not married, you're going to be lazy, and so and you're reaping the benefits of these government fundings, right? So their way of taking away those funds is by saying y'all need to get married, because instead of just sitting on your ass getting this free money.
Well, no, what they're doing is trying to make room for all the big tax breaks they gave corporations.
Okay.
Like, these huge corporations, the Elon Musk of the world, the Jeff Bezos of the world. I got to make sure they good. So I'm giving them crazy tax cuts. Where's the money coming from? Medicaid, Social Security. We're going to defund the investment into the people so people who don't need the money could have more money. That's what's happening. We justify it with some bullshit we don't even believe ourselves. Because if you look at these people's personal lives, obviously they don't believe the bullshit they pushing in terms of marriage, the sanctity of marriage, women being married. They don't believe that shit. They jump from relationship to relationship. They cheat on each other. They have babies out of wedlock just like everybody else. But they won't have to pay the cost. We will. Our people will. That's what it's really about. Oh, here, Donald Trump's proposed tax cuts, particularly those outlined in 2016 campaign, could disproportionately affect single mothers, potentially increasing their tax burden. Elimination of head household filing status, loss of dependent exemptions, child care deduction. It's important to note that Trump's current campaign platform may not include the same level of detail regarding tax proposals as his 2016 plan. However, there's still interest among some Republicans in eliminating or modifying head of household filing status and dependent exemptions. Like, you're making it hard for people to eat because on one hand, technology is eliminating everybody's job. So people can't just readily find jobs. Now you're making people who can't take care of themselves carry the tax burden while letting off billionaires. That's not right. It's not right.
Not right. Yeah.
It's not right. It's only going to make society worse. Doesn't make society better. It's not going to make it easier for people to find jobs because I got to pay higher taxes now. And the fool, though he reneged on the tariffs that other people were supposed to pay, we still have to pay a 10% tax. So the China deal didn't go through. Didn't happen because China said, go kick rocks, nigga. So he turns to us and goes, yeah, but I'm going to still make y'all pay me 10%. There's still a 10% tax being added to products.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So because they didn't get it from China, even now he wants to tax the public.
He's gonna tax. Well, he was always taxing the public because we pay tariffs. The producing country just takes the price of the product. I add the tax on top. So if I was charging you 100 and the tax is now 10, I'm charging you 115. I'm not charging you 100. I'm charging you 115.
Same bullshit about when they built the wall. They turned around and said he was going to take it from the taxpayers' money. Same shit.
Right. That's why I don't like to give him any but. Yeah, but. Nah, I ain't giving him no yeah buts. Will Packard, thank you for the heads up. FAMU, what y'all gonna do? HBCU community, what y'all gonna do? You're under attack. Y'all need to realize that, yo. You're under attack. Trump to get luxury jet from Qatar, and come on.
Damn.
No, but yeah. Oh, you didn't know about this?
I saw something about it, yeah.
Oh, my G. These niggas wilding right now. So, first of all, he's on record in a debate with Hillary Clinton criticizing her for doing some type of deal with Qatar. Like they're terrorists, they fund terrorism. How dare you do anything but Qatar? They're the worst people in the world. Ta-da. So apparently
it came with a gift to shut his ass up.
Huh?
It came with a gift to shut his ass up.
Or they came with a gift to get something on the back end.
There you go.
Right. So the jet, the plane, the new joint is like it's worth 400 million. I guess they built it for 400 million. Somehow it's worth 400 million. But in accepting this gift, you gotta customize that shit to US customization. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You got flip it and bounce that motherfucker.
Can I see that picture again of that plane? I want to see it one more time.
That's gonna cost $1 billion. So
I think interesting. Why is there steps going up on this plane?
Because they call it the Flying Palace.
Yeah,
they literally call it the Flying Palace.
Where the hell are these steps going to?
Oh man, you think it's a bowling alley in that motherfucker? It's basketball court. Yo, man, come on, bro. So they call it the Flying Palace, and it's apparently worth 400 million. However, to get it to US, it's gonna cost $1 billion. So the $1 billion, we pay for that, taxpayer. That's coming out of our shit. What happened to Doge, nigga? Shouldn't Doge be motherfucking handling business right now? Where's Doge at when you need him, man? Mm-hmm. Very important detail. It's not just the jet. It's a $5.5 billion golf course that's being built in Qatar for Donald Trump.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Based on being Trump's, and this is okay? These clowns got a new hotel in Dubai, a new tower in Saudi Arabia, a new golf course in Qatar, and a new private members-only club in D.C. that costs $500,000 a year to join. They are nakedly selling the Trump name and buying access to the Trump ear. I mean, do you really think that Trump's new business partners won't ask for anything politically? Do you think they won't get favors by buying into his vision for a new hotel in Dubai or whatever the fuck? This is corruption far beyond the scale that anyone even suspected of Hunter Biden. Like, what are we even talking about? I don't want to ever hear about Hunter Biden ever again.
Big shout out to Torre, dropping bombs, metaphorically speaking, by the way. In there these days, he got it. So, yeah, man, the grift is grifting at all-time griftation. Is griftonomy right now. It's astrological grifting going on. It's fucking what? Bro. Is he King Trump?
I mean, he's King Trump to some.
I'm saying if you pay him taxes, which is essentially what's going on, we're paying him taxes. He's the king.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of shit.
Yeah.
A lot. And, you know, somebody pointed out to me that with the tariffs, that you know how they put tariffs on these cars and stuff like that, right? But like before all the expensive cars, there's no tariffs on them, like the Phantoms and all these expensive cars, because for the rich people, his friends, you know, they ain't got no problem.
No.
Yeah, but for the young, for the poor people, tariffs on their shit.
Yeah, and the poorer you can make the people, the richer you become.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can't share the wealth. You got to cut off all avenues to wealth creation, wealth building, community investment. You got to cut all that off in order for you to be that, because, I mean, how much is how much is enough?
It's about control.
Yeah. It's deep. Man, so our brother, Howard alum, co-founder of 24 Hours of Peace, it's our brother right here, was arrested last week while at a press conference at Delaney Hall, which is a abandoned detention center that hasn't been open in years. I don't know the exact number of years since it was last open, but it's been like years. So there was a deal done with a private company. So it's privately owned, but ICE is running their operation out of there to capture, kidnap people and detain them at Delaney Hall. Now, there's no inspections haven't been done. When a real estate property like that has to be inspected. Like there's codes. You can't just occupy a facility. It has to be.
Well, who called that shot?
Huh?
Who called that shot to just come into and just take over that building?
I mean, ICE, I guess the president. At the end of the day, this is his administration. They're an extension of the president's wishes.
And Raz is like,
You cannot push it. You cannot Congress. You can't push members of Congress. Get over her. You are fascist.
So the mayor had protested, I want to say every day that week. And that happened on Friday. There were protests every day of that week. But he and 3 congresspersons, LaMonica MacGyver, I forget the other 2, excuse me. Perhaps Vita could get those names for us, but they're Congress women from New Jersey. And they had an appointment to actually inspect the facility. So they had been talking to the officials that represent ICE. They had an appointment to be there. The mayor was included in this request. They were granted the request. They showed up. They were actually let in on the grounds. There's video of the mayor being let in on grounds, and then it being determined that they didn't want him there, so they asked him to leave. He left their grounds. The driveway out is city's jurisdiction, is the mayor's jurisdiction. On the other side of that gate, if everything is up to code, if like there's licensing things that have to happen with any property, it's not about ICE, it's not about the president, it's about we as Americans have a process for everybody, and the process needs to be followed for everybody. And they're not trying to follow processes, they're just trying to assume power. So they had the mayor arrested. The mayor was targeted. It seems as if there was a phone call made. We'll let the mayor speak for himself.
Others, including some people inside the administration, is pointing to the fact that you're a Democrat and you're running for governor in your state and accusing you of basically conducting a publicity stunt. And I wonder what you would say to them tonight.
I think the publicity stunt is this idea that we should violate the court orders, violate the Constitution of the United States, that we should run roughshod over state and local laws. The reality in America is that if we're having a dispute, then we settle it in the court. I didn't go there to break any laws. I didn't break any laws. I was there as the mayor of the city, exercising my right and duty as an elected official, supporting our Congress people, preparing for a press conference that was supposed to happen there. I did not enter that place unlawfully. I did not break any laws. I don't have any regrets at all. I went down there to support my Congress people, my Congresswoman from my district, Congresswoman Blondie Watson-Coleman as well, who is like a mother to us here, and Congressman Menendez, who's also from our district. I went down there to support them in a press conference, and I would do it again. I have a right to go to those facilities as the mayor of the city. Fire inspector has a right to be on those facilities. And it is not federal property. It's in fact private property. GEO is privately owned. It's a private prison that these people are getting $63 million to do this work. And they have to abide by local laws. That's just a fact. I don't care what our political differences is. They still have to abide by the law.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, lines are being drawn.
Yeah.
And we're not recognizing what side of the line we're on. And they're telling us loud and clear in everything that we've covered so far. You know, we've seen from, you know, rapper Qua all the way down to the mayor. You know, our people are kind of on a certain side of the line, and our successes and our failures are about recognizing what side of the line you're on. You know, we got young brothers and sisters killing themselves right now in the street.
Yeah.
Not realizing that, you know, there's a power that exists that really wants to speed that up. You know, and we're helping them. And, you know, got Raz dealing with the courts, brother Rodney Hinton dealing with the courts, Meg, Tory Lanez dealing with the courts, Puffy dealing with the courts. You know,
what an interesting time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I just, you know,
it's a lot going on in 2025.
A lot going on in 2025. But, you know, I know what side of the line I'm on. So I'm in support of Ras Baraka for governor. He is currently the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, and we're all in support of him to be New Jersey's next governor. The primary is June 10th. So we're trying to get people to the polls, and we need donations. So if you hit that QR code, please hit that QR code, scan it, take you to the website, donate. And if you're in New Jersey, more importantly, vote, vote, vote. June 10th, turn out to vote for the governor of New Jersey, which will be Ras Baraka.
Nice.
Yes, sir. I think we got it all in, my man.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I think we did a good job too. That was dope. Like you said, it's a lot happening.
Huh?
I said, you said earlier, there's a lot happening.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, man.
Yeah.
2025, you know. Trump in office, Diddy trial, you know, Raz running for governor. And, you know, I kind of knew just having Trump in office that there was going to be an uproar. And don't get me wrong, you know, I tell people all the time that I don't mind Trump being in office. It's not because I like him, but I like the fact that when he's there, it takes us out of an uncomfortable situation where it causes us to act, right? And do things that we wouldn't normally do if we were comfortable. And even though we like Biden, we were in a very complacent place. So we didn't. Sometimes when you like someone, you tend not to cause any friction, right? Like Barack Obama, we tend not to, even though they may be policies or they may be things that we may not agree with, but we don't ruffle no feathers with Obama because we like him, right? But the fact that we don't like Trump, now he's coming in with all this bullshit, you know, we're very uncomfortable with that, right? So it makes us act and stand up, and it causes a movement. And so when you look at the Trump's presidency and you look at the things that happened throughout the time, it becomes recorded history because you see people who are oppressed and they stand up and they try to make change, you know? So so I appreciate the fact that he is in office and he does dumb shit because it causes us to act. So we can try to make improvements, so make things better for us. You know, and it could be an uphill battle, but you know, sometimes, you know, a good fight is a good fight, right? And you have to not sit on your ass. You kind of have to push the envelope, you know? So.
Yeah, no, I definitely, you have to push the envelope. you know, and this is coming from somebody who's known to push the envelope. Like,
Right.
I've always pushed the envelope, right? And then it's like this. So for me, it's like there's always those people who are doing work. They
Mhm.
might not get the shine, they might get the light, they're not in the forefront of everybody's vision, but they are doing the work, right?
Right.
And they need to be empowered to do the work,
Right.
right? So, but what happens when you get, you know, your enemy in power, they cut off your channels to power. So now, though you're organizing with more, you're functioning with actually less. You're almost functioning out of desperation, which you really shouldn't function out of desperation. You should function in a place where you can actually think about your resources and how to utilize them. And if you're functioning out of desperation, if you're functioning just to eat, I don't really have time to think about other things, right? So, for instance, you know, when in the 80s, you know, coming out of the 60s and the 70s, and you get to the 80s when it was money, 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 you know, people were getting money, exploiting the people around them.
Mhm.
They got something for themselves. I hear people, in the 80s, nigga, we was eating. I'm like, all right, where's the hospitals? Where's the schools? Where's the real estate? Well, you was eating. Was you really eating? Nah, you weren't really eating. So I just identify the people who will work with me to destroy the people, which is kind of what happens. So like even with like say, he's supposed to be keeping all the immigrants out. Did you hear about this deal he just did where he brought the drug cartel families over?
Mhm.
Yeah, so what's going to happen is no, he's not going to keep the drug dealers out. He's going to keep the unpreferred drug dealers out.
Mhm.
So I identify who going to get down, and then I give them the poison, be it drugs, guns, or whatever fuckery, right? So when you look at a person like a Ras Baraka, right? And though I didn't vote for Obama twice, and there's reasons behind that, and we can get into all that at a later date, right? But because of him, it made Ras Baraka possible. Somebody who's actually doing the work.
Yeah.
Right. Resources. Having Ras Baraka in office allows people like myself to do the work, because these other niggas who be all trumped out and partying with Trump and everything's Trump, 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 they not fucking with the people who actually doing the work.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes we may not like certain things, but sometimes we have to appreciate what it is because of the outcome. Like you said, you didn't vote for Obama, but you have to appreciate the fact that he was in office. He was the first black president.
Oh yeah.
That even though you may not agree with his policies, but it opens up the door for the next person to do something better.
Pow. That's a lesson I had to learn. I had to learn that lesson.
So sometimes we have to appreciate certain things while they unfold. You know?
Oh no, you definitely appreciate the moment, but I want to do so in a position where I can feed myself. That's all.
Yeah.
I want to be able to feed myself while I organize and build. I don't want to be thinking, what bullshit I got to do just to be able to feed myself. And when we look at the severity of the taxes that we're about to get hit with as poor people, unless you got billions, you're poor. Don't even come at me with you get money. If you get money on some bullshit. If you get them on bullshit, you just as poor as anybody else.
Right.
Right. All right. So what's about to hit with the prices going up, and we got to pay higher taxes, and they're gutting investment into education, which is going to ill prepare the next generation of people to come up and be able to deal with the shit around them.
Are you prepared? You ready?
I mean, I'm 56 years old. I don't have any children, but I try to give back as much as possible because it's not about me. It's about us at the end of the day.
And that's always. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a good way to go out. What you think?
Definitely. I agree with you 100% on that one.
Yeah. Yo, go check us out at OSNSR.com. That's the website. And this is OSNSR.
The podcast.
Old
School Rule.
You know it. We out.